I don't want to overlook the sufferings that women as well as children go through. But I have to emphasize the point that there has been an attack on men, especially fathers, for centuries. What's up, people? It's Be Real, and I just want to first thank you for tuning in and welcome you to another episode of Real Talk, where we get a chance to be real with Be Real. Look, I really do hope that you enjoy what you're about to listen to and gain something valuable from it. So let's go ahead and jump into this conversation, y'all. What's good, y'all? Now, I'm going to throw a quick disclaimer out there that this episode here may be a little heavy for some. So if you are not wanting to learn about the harsh realities of fatherhood, then I would suggest probably don't even waste your time. But if you are serious about trying to learn about this topic here, then let's go ahead and get started. So let me open up with a quick video clip to try to lighten up the mood some.
So you two guys are running a daycare center. You're signing up people at a lemonade stand on the front lawn. Wow, that's... Good luck with that. Okay?
Hey, wait a minute. Now, don't you believe in equality amongst the sexes?
Yeah, can't men do everything women can do?
No, we can't. It's unnatural. A little bit icky.
Your guys?
Well, what did you think Daddy Daycare meant?
I thought maybe one guy, nothing but guys.
I just thought it was a clever name.
Is this a daycare place?
They're guys. They're all guys.
They're what?
Excuse me, listen. We are two loving, caring parents, and we run a daycare center.
Couple of sickos is what you are.
Hey, miss, hey, how about a free trial offer?
Sickos!
Dear.
Hi, I'm Peggy. Hi, Nikki. How you doing?
Nikki is so excited for his big day.
Right.
Nikki, how old are you, hon? Oh, yeah, 5.
Okay, I got you.
Wait, you're gonna leave Nikki here with these guys?
Yeah. Oh, come on. You have trouble with them being guys? What are you, from the dark ages? Aren't you for all that gender equality and all that jazz?
Peggy, come on. Of course we are.
Okay, so can't women do what men do and men do what women do? These guys can do the job.
What, you gonna vouch for these two?
Yeah, I'll vouch for them. I'll vouch for these guys.
Okay. Just, I'll try it.
All right.
You're gonna do it.
Come on, have a great time.
Okay.
Right, kids?
You're a real lifesaver.
You know what? You screw this up, I'm gonna kill you with my bare hands.
Now, this is a little snippet to show us how fathers are perceived whenever they desire to step up to the plate and choose to be the primary caregivers for their children. Which brings us to the harsh reality that fathers are the most disrespected figures, but yet the most desired figures in our society. Jack Frost has a book by the name of Embracing Father's Embrace. And in it he states, wherever a father's heart is turned towards anything other than his children, he potentially will place a curse upon his family. And this goes for Christian households as well. Now, there's also a Bible to correlate with this that states in Malachi 4:5-6. In the last days, God will turn the hearts of the fathers towards the children and hearts of the children towards the fathers, lest a curse fall upon the land. Now, I know a lot of us listening like, oh, here you go with that Bible stuff, man. You can't believe everything the Bible say. It ain't all true. It's like, okay, for those of you who believe that, I'll give you that. But there's also multiple clinical studies as well as statistics to back this up as well, to show that this scripture is true. There's a clinical studies that show children from the ages of 3 to 11 desperately desire to have a father figure actively in their lives to teach them life skills. Like, they want to learn something from daddy. Like, hey, I want to be like dad. Say if they don't receive what they need from their dad between this time frame, then they're more likely to grow up and go out looking for somebody else to fill the void. Now, boys need more acceptance, while girls need more affirmation. Boys want to be accepted by their dad and, respected to know that my dad is able to help me grow up into the man that I'm called and created to be. While girls want to know that my daddy affirms me as being a wonderful treasure and he loves me unconditionally, no matter how I look, what I got, or what I can do. Now, if the dad is able to fill these voids between his time frame, then it frees up the children from boys desiring to go looking for acceptance in gangs, and girls being fooled by guys who only want to tell them what they want to hear just to get what they really want from them, which leads us to a whole dynamic of chaos. Now, statistically, it's stated that approximately 18.3 million children grow up in fatherless homes. 90% of all runaways and homeless, 63% of suicidal teens, and 85% of children and teens with behavioral disorders all come from fatherless homes. 90% of all youth in prison come from fatherless homes. Children that grow up without fathers are 20 times more likely to be incarcerated and 11 times more likely to exhibit violent behavior than those that grow up with both parents in the home. Now, I know this is a lot to try to process, and I'm by no means trying to downplay the importance of mothers because y'all just are valuable, and I don't want to overlook the sufferings that women as well as children go through, but I have to emphasize the point that there has been an attack on men, especially fathers, for centuries. And it's primarily this agenda to tear down the structure, the proper structure of the nuclear family in order to recreate a dysfunctional family form to where the dad and the father is no longer present in the picture. Now, I understand that there are a lot of factors that are responsible for this, but there's one primary contributor who played a major role in this, and he goes by the name of Willie Lynch. Now, some have heard of him, some have not. For those of you who didn't, guess what? It's Black History Month, so we're going to do a little lesson. Willie Lynch was known, is known still, for the Willie Lynch syndrome. He was a slave owner in the West Indies. He was invited to Virginia in 1712 to speak to a group of slave owners. When he arrived, he also came there and wrote them a letter. And in his letter, he presented to them that there are three main things that you need to instill to keep a healthy foundation in this lucrative business of slave ownership. Saying you have to instill fear, envy, and distrust. He was basically saying you have to make the blacks fight against each other. So put the young against the old, dark skin against the light skin, and the males against the females. Now, another key that he added to this was he was saying to get the strongest male of the community and bring him into the public square where everybody can see and brutally humiliate him and desecrate every part of his mind. So you do this by tying him to a horse and watching the horse just, pull him from limb to limb. And then on top of that, after that was done, you would beat him brutally to the point of death. But don't kill him, because you want to instill the fear of God in him. Now, once this has been established, you can get this man to do anything that you want him to do, because he will not even think about desiring to resist you at all, because he is now filled with fear and shame. You got other men who are also witnessing this, not even thinking about it. And then you have the woman now having to reprogram her natural way of being the nurturer to shift into learning how to not only try to protect her children, but herself as well as her husband now, because anything could happen to her husband or them. So she's getting into mama bear mode, to where she's having to train also her children to not exercise any intellectual authority. In other words, don't think about anything. Shut up and listen. Now, I told y'all this was going to get a little heavy. But if we be real, if we look at the state of our society, could we honestly say that we're still suffering from the detrimental effects of this upon our society. You know, and to make matters worse, Willie Lynch also stated that if this is carried out to a T, that is guaranteed to have control over slaves mentally for 300 years at least. Now, let's process that. So there's mental slavery that was being implemented during this time frame, which we are still suffering from. D1 talks about it a lot. In case y'all haven't heard about D1, go check them out. DEE-1. You will love them. But back to the point. We're suffering from this as a society. So we have a generation of men who are being born who don't care about fathers or fatherhood. You have mothers still fighting against fathers. And on top of that, you have children just as confused, stuck in the midst of this chaos, trying to figure out what's going on. And on top of that, none of them are even desiring to try to have any idea to connect to a heavenly Father who wants to love them. Now, I know everybody watching this may not believe in Jesus, but I have to be real with you and just let you know, regardless of what you believe, you are loved beyond anything that you can ever imagine. And on top of that, you cannot have a healthy view of fatherhood without having a healthy view of your heavenly Father. Now, let me also sincerely apologize to everybody who have grown up, teenager, even adult, grown up seeing a bad representation of fatherhood or father figure. Because I, too, have seen it. You know, whether you grew up seeing an absentee, deadbeat dad, or abusive dad, or even a dad who was there physically, but not being willing to give you what you need spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. I apologize on their behalf and empathize with you. Because I grew up having a mom trying to raise 4 boys with all different dads. And then seeing how none of them wanted to step up to the plate to actually give us what we needed, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. Probably because they didn't know how to receive it. So they can't give something they don't have. Now, to keep things simple, I grew up with a dad who I thought was my biological until I turned 17. When I turned 21, I met my real dad. So the guy I'm referring to in this story is the one I grew up with. But I remember growing up with my dad, you know, being proud. Like, yeah, I got a dad, you know, he's a man and he's a Christian. It's like, yeah. So this is my first display of a Christian man. And I recall good moments where I went out to play baseball. I enjoyed that, really. And in the midst of playing baseball, I remember one particular event where we had a great time playing baseball, and I came home after that weekend. And then that following week, I went to the Walmart with somebody, I don't remember who, and I saw a baseball glove. And I'll never forget, I just politely looked at it, picked it up, and before I knew it, I walked out the store with it without paying for it once we left. It's like, I didn't have no money. But when I was asked why I did that, it's like, oh, I wanted to play with my dad. Like, I wanted to have something of my own to play with my dad with because I didn't want to borrow anybody else's glove. But I also remember times where mom would say, hey, get dressed, your dad coming to pick you up. Like, okay, cool, I'm dressed, ready. And I remember waiting for hours, watching sunlight quickly turn to night lights. And just thinking, does my dad really even care or love me? This is also a bad representation of a Christian and a dad. Like, this is a hypocritical deadbeat. But I would never forget the time where my dad actually came and spoke to my mom and shared something that rocked me to the core. We were staying in a hotel at the time, and we had 2 beds in it. You know, me and my brother was on one bed, and then my mom was on the other bed. And when he came in, he must have woke me up because I was asleep before. But they didn't know I was up. So I overheard my dad telling my mom, hey, I don't think that's my son. Now, y'all, when I heard this, my heart sank. And it wasn't necessarily because he was saying these words, but I would say primarily because like I was 17 at the time, and I thought in my head, if you really knew this or understood this much, then why didn't you actually have the decency to let me know, man to man? Help me prepare for my adulthood to know, hey, I really did enjoy watching you grow up, but I don't think you're my son. I think this guy is. And once I heard this, I remember shutting down and just completely shutting out the idea of desiring to have a father figure in my life, because like technically you ain't really been doing much for me, and I ain't gonna really lose a lot anyway, so whatever, I don't need you. So I walked away from that experience and remember writing a song about it and everything, because music was my therapy. Fast forward years later, I met my real dad a year after I got saved. Now what was so crazy about this turn of events is when I saw my dad, biological dad, for the first time, I didn't have any built up feelings of animosity towards him. Like, where you been all these years? It was more of, wow, this is my dad. Because I had a love that was irreplaceable, because my Father in heaven had shown me, I'm your Father. And it freed me and healed me from the hurt and the bitterness that I was carrying about for my other dad. So once I saw my real dad, I didn't have to try to fight or prove anything to him, and I didn't expect him to try to prove anything to me. We just both received each other's love and then was able to give love to each other. Now, I know a lot of us watching may be struggling currently with, father wounds or daddy issues, as some call it. And I just want to let you know, you are a beloved son and daughter, cared for deeply by a Father who loves you, greater than you can ever know. You are. Like, let that marinate in your heart. And in closing, I want to leave y'all with 2 keys to help you gain an even greater understanding of fatherhood. 1, recognize you cannot have a healthy view of fatherhood without having a healthy view of your Heavenly Father. You have to know and understand God does not want to hide anything from you, but He wants to reveal everything to you. He wants to show you, you are my beloved son and daughter. You are. When we believe a lie about God, we believe a lie about ourselves. Not because we are God, because we are not, but because God made us in His image to need only Him, and He is our source. Sons are secure in their father's love, while orphans are trying to prove their sons. You are a son or a daughter. You're not an orphan. Like, understand that. You are not an orphan. The fact that God reveals Himself as a father is one of the greatest revelations. If you fundamentally believe God is a concealer more than a revealer, then when times get tough, you will default in dismissive truisms like God works in mysterious ways, or you never really know what God might do. And you will never trust that you can really know Him like a son or a daughter knows a father. Nor will you believe that God really wants to know you intimately. And the second thing I want to leave y'all with is to understand that whatever we choose to believe will be the lens to help us filter how we see and interpret everything that happens in our lives. In other words, you empower whatever you choose to believe. So you believe a lie, that's what you will ultimately begin to live out. If you believe the truth, then it's ultimately what you will also begin to live out. And the enemy knows how to strategically come into our lives and place fears through pain and traumatic experiences. It's through those particular moments where he comes and feeds us lies and feeds us doubts to ask us things about God. Accuse God things like, if God was really so good, He wouldn't let that happen to you. God was so good, why this here is happening to your family member. If God is so good, why is there so much evil in this world? Like, all of these questions and accusations of God are things that the enemy will always try to present so that we can doubt just how good he is. But can I please let you just know, regardless of what happens or goes on in this world, it does not change the fact that God is still a loving and caring Father who cares deeply for all of his children. Like, period. Now, I know some of us may be questioning, hey, what about, anger, God killing people? It's like, great, I get that. And if y'all want to hear me talk about that subject, put it in the comments below and we can discuss that on a later video. But it does not change the fact that God is a loving Father who wants you to understand that. So, in closing, I want to leave y'all with a power question. What is the biggest lie you are believing about fatherhood in general? Remember, God the Father gives us a deeper understanding of what fatherhood looks like. So, I pray that we begin to walk away from this video with seeing the importance of fatherhood, as well as how to receive the perfect love of our Father so that we can have a greater respect for fathers and become better fathers for our community and society as well. So, no further ado, about to go ahead and jump off, but I really do hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Yo, what's good, y'all? I really do hope that you enjoyed this episode, but if you found any value in this whatsoever, why don't you go ahead and do me a favor? Once you like, comment, subscribe, or even just share this with somebody else, because you never know what that can do to help be a blessing to somebody else. So I really do hope that you also challenge yourself to engage with the power question as well, because once you begin to do that, you'll begin to see just more transformation come from where you're at and even where you're trying to get to. So with all that being said, I want to leave y'all with this. Create what you imagine, believe in your dreams, and above all things, do what you love and be real. You feel me?